Welcome to my corner of the internet. I'm the house hacker. Today I want to talk about a conversation I had with a friend. My friend asked me, what does FIRE mean? Which was pretty surprising considering this was a very financially inclined individual studying to enter the finance field, and he had no idea. So before we dive right into this, I just wanted to define a couple of things. FIRE stands for Financially Independent, Retired Early. Another phrase we're going to be looking at is lean FIRE, which is basically a minimalist's perspective of FIRE. And then finally, we're going to also be looking at fat FIRE, which is a very comfortable version of FIRE, where you're going to have everything that you need and then some. So this friend, instead of writing up a whole description in a text message explaining to him what FIRE was, I decided I'm just going to go look online, grab him a good video, and just shoot it over. And to my surprise, all of the top results, entire page plus down, was negative criticisms toward FIRE, which to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense, since FIRE is one of those things that are just innately good, like honor or honesty. Like in and of themselves, they can't be wrong. They can't be bad. So I decided to watch those videos, and I've noticed two major issues that I felt I had to make a video to address. And both of those issues revolve around the retired early part of FIRE. The first issue is what I believe is the fixation on retired early, when really you should be focused on the financially independent part. The second issue is the underestimation of what retirement looks like. So for the first issue, when you think FIRE, your focus should be on the financially independent part, not the retired early. So let's kind of shift the paradigm. Because a lot of people want to look towards retired early as a goal, and they get too fixated on that, and you got to understand what's more important is the financially independent part. So switching the paradigm, let's think, because I achieved FIRE, I was able to leave a job that I didn't enjoy to do something I was more passionate of. That is something that FIRE would bring. Or let's say that you are in a position at a company and they have this major reorg and your new boss is extraordinarily toxic. Because of FIRE, you can now put in your 2 weeks notice. And if they're really toxic, because of FIRE, you can leave that day. Or here's another one. Because of FIRE, you decided that you don't want to work 40 hours a week and you've chosen a passion that you enjoy and you want to do 5 to 10 hours a week of that passion. And you can. Even though that passion doesn't pay the bills, you don't need it to. You've achieved FIRE, and specifically the financially independent part. You are independent of needing an income from an employer. You have become a self-sustaining income to yourself. And you've done this through investments, through businesses you may have started, or any other passive income streams that you may have built up. Because of FIRE, you were able to give yourself choices that you originally didn't have. Because of FIRE, you decided to reward yourself on your 30th or your 40th birthday with a year off from doing work. You just want to go and do something other than work. You can do that. And it doesn't even need to be something that you give yourself on any specific birthday, but because of FIRE, you get to choose when you do that. You can choose if you want to take a mental health month or year or 5 years. It's up to you. It's all about giving you the choice. So it's not about fixating on how to achieve early retirement. It's about fixating on how to achieve financial independence. Don't lose sight of the big picture here, which is financial independence. Retired early, that's an option. That's an option that becomes available to you because you achieved financial independence. So let's get into the second issue, which is retiring early. This is a much more complicated process than I think you think it's going to be. The majority of people imagine a totally different retirement than what it's really going to be like. Now, I've taken a 6-month gap and a 4-month gap where I just wanted to take a break from work. And I know that that might not be the biggest sample size of what a retirement would look like. But there's several things that I've noticed, and I think a lot of people don't quite realize. In my first video, I dropped an exorbitantly large number to describe what I needed to achieve FIRE. There's a reason why I picked that number. Retiring early is a lot more expensive than I think a lot of people think it is. If you go look at the finances of a lot of individuals who've retired, I guarantee you they're not having their dream retirement. They're having the best retirement they can get, and that's fine. But for the majority of people, if you want a better retirement, you've got to set a higher goal. And in your retirement, you're gonna think, oh well, I'm just gonna go and do all the things I normally do after work, and the things that I do occasionally throughout the year, I'm just gonna do that more frequently. But 40 hours a week that just got freed up and got dropped on your lap is a behemoth of a task. It's more time than you're gonna know what to do with. And activities and entertainment cost money. It's not cheap. Especially because you got to think, like, that's 40 hours now that you have to fill with entertainment. And it doesn't have to all be paid entertainment, but some of it is going to be paid. And I think a lot of people are going to lean towards paid entertainment in general. Unless you're part of the minority that wants to just travel the world in a van, just living out of a van, or if you're an individual who's deeply passionate about something like bushcraft, and you just want to go out in the woods and just live off the land, and if that's something that you're passionate about, then lean FIRE is for you. But I think a lot of people who are thinking about lean FIRE don't quite realize just how limiting it is. And it goes even beyond that, right? When a lot of people frame what they want their retirement to look like, they look towards people who are framing retirement for individuals in their 60s. And you got to think the game is totally different. You've got individuals who are exhausted, who don't have the energy that they had when they were younger. And there's a limited number of activities that they even want to do now because of how tired they are from all these things. They have a limited amount of energy, a limited amount of, things hurt now when they wake up. They can't just go and decide, I'm going to go and do a cross-country backpacking trip where I camp and sleep on the ground in a tent. Not a lot of people have that in them. Some people do, but not a lot. So you got to understand, like, the activities of what people want. Clubbing. If you're younger and you want to achieve FIRE, you might want to go clubbing. Older person, not necessarily. So when you're looking at FIRE, you really need to look at finding your own number your own way, which is kind of why I posted my first video. It really outlined how you can find your own number. Because if you stick to what the experts tell you, they'll tell you 75% of whatever you're making before you retire is what you need to retire. And that's just in terms of the ability to pay for like your yearly wage. So if you make 100, when you retire, you're going to need 75 per year to live comfortably. Sure, from a minimalistic perspective, that'll do. But for what a lot of people want and what a lot of people are imagining out of their retirement, I think they're looking for a little bit more. So when you enter retirement, you've got to approach it from the perspective of, yeah, the first month I'm probably going to be relaxing. But then after that, you're going to be looking at hobbies you want to pursue or activities you're going to want to do. And you're going to be looking at, how can I spend the extra time that I have doing things that I enjoy? And it is much harder than you think identifying those things. You're not going to have a boss telling you what to do. You're going to have to establish your own routines. And this is going to require effort. It's not easy to just go and say, I'm retired, and then lay on the beach. Like, that's cool for one day, maybe two. You really want to spend 3 days just laying on the beach? Maybe the first 3, but eventually, like, you're going to want to do something more with your time. So that's why it's good to do that experiment. Try and figure out, if you were retired, what would you like to do? Figure that part out. Because as soon as you have that part figured out, you'll know what you want to do, and you'll know how much it's going to cost you to do it. You don't have to speculate how much you need by saying, oh, I'm going to need 75% of what I was making before, or I'm going to need to make this much of a percentage on my returns. You don't need to do any of that math. At this point, you're forecasting. Don't forecast. Go out, do the experiment, get your exact numbers. Inflation might change them, fine, but at least you're now ruling out all of these other variables that are affecting your numbers. So it just goes to show that if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. Murphy's Law. Microphone decided that it was going to not record the last 30 seconds of the video. So this is the very next day. I'm going to try and wrap up what I was saying yesterday. Focus less on retiring early. Focus more on the financially independent part. Retire early is just going to be an option that's available to you. And when it comes to retirement, it really is a more complex thing than I think a lot of people are giving it. So give it some thought, put in a little bit of effort, sacrificing one vacation from doing what you'd normally do on a vacation, just to kind of figure out how you're going to make your retirement work out, it's worth the price. It really is. So if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. If you have any feedback, leave it below. It's a young channel, and I will read your comments and respond to them. Thank you for watching.